my top 3 life values, and like I'm going to break some parents' brains maybe, but mine were health, business, family.
Yeah.
And I think that it's like, oh, but you don't put your kids first? Well, my way of loving my children fully and completely is making sure their mother's in optimal health, running a business that allows us to live a freedom-based life where I can keep them home. I don't have to put them into a system that doesn't align. And that is then. And then from there, I get to show up fully and completely with them as mother in my power, because I believe that's the most powerful thing I can give them. So understanding my values of health, business, family also allows me to make really clear decisions.
Today on the show, we have Carly Brown, who talks about how her cancer diagnosis was actually the golden ticket she needed to entrepreneurship. We dive into healing at a molecular level and even talk about what it's like to put business and health before your family and how many people think that's a negative thing. If you like what you hear, make sure to comment, subscribe, share this with a friend. Hope you enjoy the episode. But have you always had like an abundant mindset? Because like you seem like a very abundant human.
No, but my first job, I actually just did an Instagram post about this yesterday. My first job out of college was working for a guy named James Ray from the book The Secret. And that for sure shifted the trajectory of my life, because I was 23 years old and I was his event coordinator. So I was sitting in the back of the room just listening to everything he said and just soaking it up like year after year. And it was everything like, intention is insufficient without action. And successful people are rarely extraordinary. They just do ordinary things extraordinarily consistent, And it was just all this stuff of like, change your mindset, change your life. If you want to create the reality, shift who you are. It was just like the whole internal game is what I learned at 23 years old. And I had a crappy mindset at that point. I mean, I think I remember the moment that I was sitting in the back of the room and he was talking about like moving from the heart center. And I was like, I don't even know how to access my heart. Like I'm like born and raised New Yorker, like just go, do, build. And so I was like, I don't even know how to access my heart. It was just like, I felt so heady. And he gave me this example of like taking the thought, moving it through the back of my head, down the back of my neck to my chest, and then feeling it in my heart and making a decision from there. And that was like the first time I was like, I actually had a tool to do something to change the way that I viewed the world and like the types of decisions that I made. So definitely didn't always have an abundant mindset, but I was really blessed to be thrown into the world of personal development at a super young age. And that sort of became my paradigm for life. And now I work with a lot of people where I'm like, I understand that it all comes down to their mindset.
Yes.
All of it comes down to their mindset. And people are like, well, how do you do what you do? And I'm like, I just was really blessed with an opportunity to upgrade my mindset at a young age and never stop. I wasn't like, great, now I'm 23 and I learned. Like, I just never stopped. I realized like the more I work on myself, the more joy I have, the more fun I have, the more money I make. So I'm like, now I'm addicted to personal growth, quite frankly.
What's interesting too is like we all have so much access to this personal development now, right? Social media, YouTube, it's everywhere, books, all this stuff, but so few people actually take action on it. And that's something like I've done in my life is like you, I was so fortunate to be around the right people at 24 where I was like, I've never thought about this, like have a vision for your life, like goals. Yeah, I have goals, but I didn't write them down. I didn't review them. I didn't study them. And so when you're parenting, how are you going to instill this in your children?
Just teaching them that you do hard things for an easy life and do easy things for a hard life. Like Ross and I just had this conversation where we were like, our goal is to teach the kids to do uncomfortable things. Because I think like, at least what I see, because I run an online business with hundreds of people who are just getting started in the entrepreneurial world. And what I find is that they expect it to be easy. And then when it's easy, when it's hard, they're like, I don't want to do it. I'm like, where did you get the idea that this was going to be easy? Like, where did that come from? And so I think if we can instill in our kids that like, it's not supposed to be easy. And the harder things that you do, the more you grow as a person, the more resiliency you have. And so it's also a little bit of a hard paradigm because we all want to make life easy for our kids, right? So it's like Ross and I find it's this dance of like, how do we give our kids the type of life that we want to give them, which is pretty nice, and instill, you got to learn how to do hard, uncomfortable things too.
Yeah, that's where I struggle sometimes is I want to instill that in my children, the power of failure, the power of perseverance. then you get home from all the chaos that is the business life that you're running and you're leading. And they're like, can we watch TV? And the easy thing is to say yes. The hard thing is to be like, no, let's go play. But I find myself oftentimes in that interesting dynamic where I'm like, I kind of want to give you easy because that's easy for me and I'm a little worn out, but I know this isn't the right decision. And so there's times where I make the right decision. There's times where I make the wrong decision. That's life. But it's really interesting to manage children. Like, it's especially when you're entrepreneurial and you're addicted to the work you do because you love it, which is where you're at.
Yeah, and so the way that I also view it with them and their education is that so much of the value that they're getting from being homeschooled and just being beside us, and like right now I would kind of say it's like an unschooling. You know, there's like, yeah, we practice reading and things like that. Cruz just started reading, but we very much just allow them to like participate in our lifestyle with us. Like when I'm on calls, Cruz is sitting in the back of the room.
Yep.
You know, we have our organic juice company, Alchemy Juice, and Ross takes Cruz to the kitchen all the time and he gets paid when he washes bottles.
Yeah.
And so it's like, that's the education that I want them to have. Like, I understand we need to do reading and writing and things like that, but I also just want I want their education to be based on living alongside us as entrepreneurs. And another thing that we teach them is that you're going to get paid in direct proportion to the amount of problems that you solve for people. So at the young age, when they're like, how do I do this? We're like, solve the problem.
Yeah.
You have a problem, go solve it, because that's what you're going to get paid to do out in the world.
Yeah.
So it's like little things like that where we're just sort of taking them along on the journey with us and being like, watch and participate.
Yeah.
You know, participate in it. And that's how we're shaping them. That's, at least right now at 5.5 and 2.5, that's the education that we're giving them.
Yeah, it was really cool because I was fortunate last year to take Rylan and Bodhi with me to an event and took them up on stage. And when we went for the sound check, you know, Rylan pulls me aside. She's like, Dad, can I ask you a question? I'm like, yeah, of course. What's up? She's like, I thought you set up stages. I'm like, oh, no. I don't build the stage, sweet girl. Like I speak on the stage. Yeah. And so I saw you recently bring your boys up on stage and watching them dance and stuff like that. And just how powerful it is for them to have that experience at such a young age, to see what it's like to be a leader, to be in uncomfortable positions, to have the spotlight on them and stuff. So I really am inspired by the way you guys are bringing them up and showing them how to live their life alongside you rather than, you know, differently.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's just like, I very much feel like we're making it up as we go. You know, there's no rule book, there's no playbook that we're working towards. We're just like, what values do we want to instill in these kids? And two, getting them on stage, that was done intentionally, of like letting them be seen, you know, like letting the kids be seen in front of a group of people. And now they're just like, they love it.
Yeah, when can we go
I'm
back?
Like, clearly that's my kid.
Yeah,
right
when
there.
can we go back? When
Yeah,
can we go back? I want to
exactly.
dance. When can we go back?
Yes.
When can we go back? The way you get to the life you desire is by getting in rooms you don't think you deserve to be into. And this is an opportunity for you to get into a room that most oftentimes in the year you will not have the ability to get into. The Austin Entrepreneurial Summit, powered by GoBundance, is the only time we open the doors of GoBundance to the public. This event is packed with some powerful speakers and incredible people from the GoBundance community that will pour into you on your journey of success and help you achieve the life you desire. Service is the Trojan horse to knowledge, and if you want the opportunity to take your life to the next level, do yourself a service and sign up for this event. See you in Austin in May. You've done it all. You've built the business. You've made the money. You conquered the grind. You're the lone wolf, and yeah, that got you here. But let's be real, it won't take you to the next level. The truth? Most successful people don't hunt alone. They join a tribe, a network of elite entrepreneurs, investors, or leaders who challenge them, push them, and hold them accountable to their biggest goals. GoBundance is that tribe. Extreme accountability, real wealth building, life-changing adventure, and a brotherhood who refuses to let each other play small. So here's the challenge. Stay the lone wolf or run with the pack. The right tribe changes everything. Find a link in the description. Apply today. This episode is brought to you by Loletta Birnbaum, LLC, doing business justice. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, real estate investor, or a combination of each, you know how critical it is to have trusted legal advisors on your team. Loletta Birnbaum has built a stellar reputation providing exceptional legal services that make a difference. As a national business law firm, Loletta Birnbaum provides a wide variety of legal services, including general corporate, contract negotiations, mergers and acquisitions, succession planning, intellectual property, commercial litigation, shareholder disputes, real estate, and employment. Whether you're navigating a complex business deal, resolving disputes, or protecting your brand, their team delivers practical, results-driven legal solutions tailored to your goals. For inquiries, GoBundance members should email Loletta Birnbaum at gobundance@loletta.com. That's LAULETTA.com. You can also visit their website at www.lauletta.com to learn more about how they can do your business justice. What's slowing your business down? Is it endless emails, scheduling headaches, repetitive tasks that steal your time? My Outdesk has your solution. Their experienced global virtual assistants handle the busy work so you can focus on strategy, growth, and whatever matters to you most. From administrative support to marketing and customer service, they've got you covered at a fraction of the cost of hiring in-house. Scale smarter, save bigger, get the support you need today at My Outdesk. How did you get into the juicing space? Because, it was kind of a fad for a moment. There was a craze for a moment, but what you guys have built with Alchemy and the culture and the community you've built around Alchemy is not a fad. It is a way of life from my perspective. And so how did you get into that?
Yeah. So like I said, Ross and I have kind of been in the digital nomad space since 2013. We wanted to live this freedom-based lifestyle. And so we didn't really picture having kids. Like, we just wanted to travel the world on our laptops and make enough money to do what we wanted when we wanted. And cruise came into the picture as a surprise and obviously blessed our lives. And about 8 months after Cruz was born, I received a diagnosis of thyroid cancer, metastatic thyroid cancer. And that's where a lot of my actual entrepreneurial journey of everything that I'm doing now, the impact that I'm having, the reason that I created or am creating content on Carly Loves Kale, my Instagram page, is to support people in healing in a holistic and integrative way. When I was diagnosed, I just want to say the caveat that I'm not anti-conventional medicine or anything like that, but I was already a health coach. I was already passionate about wellness, and I knew the statistics that over 50% of people who are diagnosed with cancer have a recurrence. And when I was diagnosed, I was 33 years old with an 8-month-old son, and I wasn't interested in being part of those statistics. So I essentially put, conventional therapies on hold and started to research how I could heal my body on a cellular level. And at that point, like I said, I had been into health, but health for me at that point was eating healthy food and working out.
Right.
It didn't go much deeper than that. And when I started to dive into the world of integrative cancer therapies and true cellular healing, I learned about detoxification, which the way that I view detoxification now is kind of like restoring your body to factory settings. The way that we came in this world before we're inundated with toxins from our air, food, soil. Everything around us. And I learned about red light therapy and hyperbaric oxygen chambers and colonics and coffee enemas and supplementation and binders and methylene blue and just the deep world of kind of what now has become mainstream with biohacking, but it's also the same things that we're doing to heal our body on a cellular level. And I started reading a book from a guy named Chris Wark called Chris Beat Cancer. And he had stage 3 colon cancer over 15 years ago and was, given a certain amount of time to live and really adopted a raw vegan lifestyle. So I was like, okay, I'm willing to try this. I started juicing 64 ounces of juice a day in my home with my mom. And it took us an hour every single morning. It was very laborious. Anyone, do you ever juice at home?
We've done it once and I haven't done it again.
Yeah.
Just go to Alchemy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. Yeah. And that's also very common because it's just it's a lot of work and the cleanup is a lot. But the interesting thing that happened was I was sharing really publicly on my Instagram account solely because I didn't want to go through it alone. I just didn't want to be I think as a health coach and as someone who was already dedicated to health, when I was diagnosed, I felt like I had these two pathways of either hide and shame because, oh, you're the person who's healthy, you shouldn't have cancer. And I did have those feelings. Or rip the Band-Aid off, tell people what you're going through and let your community online support you. And so I started sharing really authentically on social media about the things that I was learning and doing. And what was fascinating is that this idea we have of cancer, of people being so sickly, everyone was watching me get healthier. my skin glow, lose weight. Like I began to live a life that I didn't ever have access to in my 33 years prior because of the way that I was caring for my body and all the deep detoxification that I was doing. And when people said, well, what do you think is contributing the most? I said, raw organic cold pressed juice, 64 ounces a day, and coffee enemas, which is deep liver detoxification. And at that point, like I said, Ross and I were digital nomads. We were just getting by, making a couple $1,000s a month, like enough to live,
Yeah.
right? And my therapies were really expensive. I mean, insurance didn't cover any of it. And so I remember sitting in the living room one night, me, my mom, and Ross, and we were like, we need to make some money. This was right before the pandemic, by the way. And I was like, well, I haven't like gone to a office in, 7 years, but I could go get like a corporate job, go maybe find a job to make 6 figures, but I wouldn't have the time to do my healing therapies. So we were like, okay, what's, that crossover of what the world needs, what you love to do, and what people will pay for. We're like, okay, we drew that out. And we had this whole list, and we're like, well, we're spending an hour every single morning making raw organic cold pressed juice in glass bottles. We live in one of the healthiest cities in the United States, Austin, Texas, very progressive and forward thinking. And we can't find this juice in town. Like at that time, there was only companies that weren't using organic produce. Right. Well, the benefit of juicing is that you condense all the nutrients down, but you also condense any of the pesticides and herbicides that are sprayed on the produce. So like to me, it makes absolutely no sense to drink non-organic juice. So we were like, what if we started juicing and we delivered it to people's doors? And at the time, I needed to make an extra $1,500 a month. Like that was our goal. So we backed into it of how many juices we need to sell a month.
Do you remember how many it was?
I think it was like 75 or something. Like it wasn't very many. We're like 75 juices a month. We got it. And so, so what we did at that point was I went on social media and was like, hey guys, we're going to start making juice. We're going to juice it and deliver it to your door. Who wants it? And I think like 8 people sent me a DM. It was so rudimentary. I took a PayPal invoice and sent it to them. I was like, here's our 2 recipes. This was like DIY at home business. You know what I mean? And so we got the 8 orders, and my mom and I are like the juicers. And so we go to the store, we buy all this produce. And I remember the moment my mom and I are standing in our kitchen with a floor full of produce. And we're like, now what? Like, how do we figure out how to make all this juice with this produce? And my husband walks in, this is his brain, and creates a little spreadsheet for us. Like, okay, well, if we weigh it per gram and you multiply it like this, okay, this is like we needed me to get on social media. My mom had the deep juicing knowledge, Ross with the spreadsheet. It was just right people, right time, right moment, like God's hands upon it of like, this is what you're supposed to do. And I'll say that Alchemy has been like touched by grace every step of the way in that way. Like we have a hardship, a door opens. How are we going to do this? Someone comes in. Like I always say, Alchemy is not mine. Like Alchemy is meant for the well-being of our community 100%. Anytime there's a roadblock, it just moves aside and it works. So essentially Alchemy, to answer your question, Alchemy came out of my cancer healing journey as a way to fund my personal ongoing therapies. And 3 weeks into it, we had enough orders that we were like, I think we're going to need to go into a commercial kitchen. Like, are we going to start a juice company? Because it wasn't really our intention. It was just make enough money to keep getting me IVs every week. And we were like, well, we've done the scariest thing of all, which is like navigate a cancer diagnosis. Worst case is it fails. Oh, well, we tried. Yeah. And, well, it hasn't failed. No. It's done really beautifully. And we launched Alchemy February 2020, right before the pandemic. And the interesting thing about it was 1 month later, everything shut down right as we'd just gotten this commercial kitchen. And I think we were like one of 2 businesses in Austin that were allowed to stay open because we were doing door-to-door food delivery. Right. Again, God's hands upon it. We're like, okay. And that kind of took the business next level because you suddenly had all these people who never cared about their health before interested in their health. And so that was sort of what got us on the radar in the Austin wellness community at that point.
Would you do anything differently?
No, I wouldn't. I think it's all been exactly what it's meant to be. I will say that at some point in Alchemy's business, I fell out of love with the role that I was doing. I love people. I love being on stage. I love connection and being on social media and sharing a story. And that's how I started in Alchemy. And then 6 to 12 months in, I was putting numbers into a spreadsheet and placing orders and doing customer service and the beautiful thing is, thank goodness, I married someone who has all the opposite gifts of me. And so I was like, Dave, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, this is not my zone of genius. And he's like, I was the CEO of Alchemy at that point, and he was like, I'm ready. Like, let me take this over, you know? And I was like, great. And he's quite honestly, he's done so much better than I would have ever done with it. He has a whole Japanese production method in our kitchen. Like, it's just incredible what he's built at this point. And so it's also just what I learned in that is really allowing people to stay in their zone of genius, me honoring my zone of genius and other people's. And as I've built a team in another business, I'm always just like, what are your gifts? What are my gifts? As an entrepreneur, I think it's easy to feel like we need to do it all. And one of my biggest lessons from Alchemy early on was like, you're not good at that. Let somebody else who's better at it do it.
Well, what fascinates me too is like, it sounds like you're on this whole life journey of constant improvement. Like you said, you got exposed to it at 23, you started developing this mindset and these different perspectives, but you didn't stop there. And so as you've gone forward in your journey, have you hired coaches? Have you hired mentors? Have you hired peers? Like, how have you continued to evolve and develop as a human with the people you surround yourself with? Because I think that is ultimately the most important thing, is who do we spend the most time with?
Yeah, for sure. One of my favorite things that I tell my team is you're the sum of the 5 people you spend your time with. Absolutely. So I always have a mentor. I never don't have a coach because I'm just one girl, one human doing my best to navigate the world, you know, and I'm really, really good at some things and I'm really crappy at other things. So I'm by my bed, you'll always see a personal development book. I read personal development more than anything else. Audible, always reading personal development. I mean, I'll listen to things over and over. The power of positive thinking. I mean, my entry point, say what you will about, you know, people have opinions about the book, The Secret, but that was my entry point into all of this. Like, change your mindset. Change the way you look at the world, and the world around you will change. So The Secret, The Magic, The Power, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And my most recent coach that I worked with last year was Garen Jones, who is also the husband of my best friend. So, you know, this is just my community now. And honestly, I made the biggest investment in his coaching that I'd ever made in my entire life, like more than I think than my deposit on my house, my down payment on my house. And I remember making that decision. And when I made that decision, I didn't have the money. It wasn't in my bank account. But I was like, I knew, we talk a lot about this idea of collapsing timelines, right? That what you can do with a coach or mentor, you can do in a year that would take you on your own 10 years. And I had done Garen's coaching before and his group containers, but now I was ready to graduate to one-on-one coaching. And I was like, I know the value and I know how I'm going to grow in this, but I just can't make it make sense. Like, I don't have the money in my bank account. And he got on the phone with me and he said, I don't want you to make the decision as you right now. I want you to make the decision as the future version of yourself. That future version of Carly, who's making $1 million plus a year in ease and joy and has the body and the energy and the bank account that she wants. What type of decision would she make? And I was like, of course she would invest in coaching. I invested in him, and within 2 weeks I had the money in my bank account.
That's so cool.
And that's energy. That's like the when we invest in ourselves, like the universe conspires around us to support us. And so it's like, I have enough references in my life now at this point, is like every time I take the leap, the net appears, right? Not to like be cliche, but like truthfully, that's the way it is. And when I hired Garen, I had I called him the next month and I was like, Garen, I had a $7,000 month this month. This is in like my online sales business. And the next month I was like, I had a $14,000 month. I had a $25,000 month. I had a $60,000 month. I had a $100,000 month. I had a $194,000 month. I was like, this is insane. And part of it was even just the financial investment that I made in myself. And sometimes I'll be like, dude, why is it so expensive?
Right, right.
And he's like, you're not making that investment in me. You're making that investment in yourself. I'm like, what paradigm shifts,
Yeah.
So yeah, I always have a coach.
What do you think was the biggest roadblock that he helped you eliminate or helped you get around? Like what was holding you back that he helped open up for you to see?
Personally, for me, permission. Like permission to be big, permission to dream big, permission to own your light, own your voice. I view myself as a big personality. And do you resonate with that? Like viewing yourself?
Me?
Yeah.
No, unfortunately, I'm actually very, the way that society defines it, I'm a very introverted human.
Okay.
So I like to kind of just succeed in silence, but I also recognize that succeeding in silence does others a disservice because you don't then give them permission to go achieve what they desire or what they believe in.
Okay.
And so I've started to try to live more with a open personality. I still wouldn't say it's big, but an open personality, because there are things in my life that I'm navigating that if I share, just like you did with your cancer journey, it gives others permission to accept where they're at in their journey and take action. Mm-hmm. But I don't have this big personality.
Well, I'll just say from observing you and even some of the stuff that you share on social media, I do feel like you share your lifestyle and your freedom in a way that's inspiring. I'm like, oh, way to go, Matt. Yeah, all right. If Matt's doing it, I'm doing it. He bought land. Yeah, I can buy land. Okay. We got 3 kids. Yeah, sure. I can have a
3 kids. Yeah.
Just I do observe that permission in you too, just so you know.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. But yeah, I think permission is a big thing that we all struggle with. And it's, the narratives we have, society, our parents, teachers, friends, it's not that they don't want us to achieve what we're capable of achieving. They're afraid to watch us fail if we go for it and we miss. Mm-hmm. And so what I've really focused on in my life is taking the people I surround myself with and asking, do they give me energy or do they take energy? Mm-hmm. And if they take energy, it's not, I'm going to leave them by the wayside, never talk to them. It's I'm going to put them in the trunk of my car while I drive down the road where I want to go until such a time that I have the confidence to bring them in the back seat. And then eventually I'll have the confidence to put them in the front seat and not be worried about where they're telling me to drive or where they're telling me to go. Mm-hmm. But it's still a constant battle I wrestle with, right? There's the voices in your head that are like, don't do. So as you're moving through your life, is it easy now to give yourself permission all the time? Or do you find yourself still in moments going like, this is the old mindset, this is the new, like, do you still find yourself wrestling with things?
I mean, I'm constantly in a state of growth for sure. I have my moments where I get confused and overwhelmed and lack. But like I said, I think that I do have enough references now of what gets activated in other people when I'm willing to be fully and completely myself. And like an example of this is like, I love working out in groups. Like my husband is like, put him alone in a studio for hours and he's his happiest. Mm-hmm. Give me like a workout group, a women's circle, like that's where I fully come online. And so when the biggest reward for me is not necessarily the wins, but when I can see my wins activate something in someone else and then they go create a win. It's like when it's like seeing your daughter on stage at a recital and you're like, yeah, you go, girl. It's like better than you being on stage. And that's how it feels for me. So now I'm so in love with that feeling of other people being activated that I do give myself permission. But that was one of the gifts that Garen gave me, because I think it's easy as that big personality to be like too loud, too much, too opinionated. And we sort of live in a world where people want to like, a little, just get by, just like fit in,
Yes.
And so because he gave me that gift, that's a gift that I'm mindful to give to other people.
So what are you working on now? What's 2025 look like?
Yeah, just continuing to 10x my income and my impact, quite honestly. Alchemy Juice has 3 locations now, And Ross is really passionate about bringing in a lot of robotics into the production.
so cool.
He's super passionate about that and this Japanese manufacturing method. So that's on the Alchemy side. In my online business is just taking my income from $1 million this year to $5 million the next year, and understanding that I'm going to get paid in proportion to the amount of people that I support, the amount of people that I have, the amount of impact that I have on people. And on a personal level, get into our new house on 5 acres and have a baby.
And have some animals.
Have some animals. Yeah, have some
How
animals.
did you find hydrogen water?
Through my cancer healing
Through your
journey.
cancer healing.
Yeah. So that's kind of why I said that everything I'm doing now came out of that journey, right? The depths of the darkness that we can handle is to the same access to light. I was reading a book last night by James Ray, the person that I worked with when I was younger, and he said that our amount of success is in direct proportion to the amount of chaos that we can handle and not break.
Yes.
And so what I think about in my cancer healing journey was the amount of chaos that I handled and who I had to become to handle that amount of chaos. And then what I got access to on the other side. And I pray that for, people listening, that it's not cancer, but it's death or divorce or a loss of the job. Like, we've all gone through hardships, and we can either identify and put that label on us and say that we're broken because of it, or we can say, who am I going to become because of that? Like that idea that I say, I'm not grateful that I got cancer, but I'm grateful for who I became in the process. We all have that opportunity to transmute that energy. And so, what did you ask me that I
How
went
did
on
you get
that
into hydrogen
tangent?
water?
Oh yeah, hydrogen water. Thank you. I'm like, where was I going with that? So hydrogen water was the integrative cancer clinic that I went to. That's what they gave their patients there.
Wow.
And so I was like, why are they giving, what's hydrogen water? And in Dr. Tony Jimenez's book, he talks about the value of hydrogen water as the most potent antioxidant and anti-inflammatory on the planet. And so I invested in a machine simply for the health benefits of it. And someone was like, she sent me a message on Instagram and was like, you're going to support so many people with this. You're going to help them with their health and their finances. And I was like, their finances? What are you talking about? And she was like, there's a whole business model attached to it. I'm like, I'm in. Let's go. Like, I didn't have to think twice because I already had a full alignment with the product.
That lady must love you.
She loves me.
Yeah.
I've made her a lot of money.
You've done really well for her. She must love you.
She does. And so now it's, I help people create a life of health and wealth through beverages. I seem to have a thing for beverages, cold pressed juice and hydrogen water. But what I also love, and we were kind of talking about before we started, is accessing that other side of me that loves business and sales and numbers and marketing. And so I get to have this health tool that brings people closer to health, but also gives them a pathway to make money. And I really run that business like a personal development company. Why? Because the success of the extent that we grow personally is to the extent that our finances grow. So it took all of these things of the last 14, 15 years and combined them into one thing.
Yeah, and what's fascinating to me is people look at you and say, oh, she was an overnight success, right? Because it's like a hockey stick.
Yeah.
But in reality, you've been building the foundation since you were 23. Yeah. And nobody recognizes or appreciates the grind and the dark moments and the trials. And like you said earlier, so many people think it's going to be easy because the way you live your life, you make it look easy because you love it, you enjoy it, you embrace it, you include it in everything you do. So it looks easy, but it's not easy. And so when you're on this journey, what is the next hard thing you plan to accomplish? Like, what is the next big hard thing that you're looking in the eye right now going like, ooh, that's going to be interesting?
Gosh. I don't know that I have one specific thing, but just embracing the hard that does arise. Like for one, I was on a very, very deep like fitness journey right before I got pregnant. That was sort of the next thing on the horizon was like, how do I just get ripped?
Yeah.
Like the best physical state of my life.
Like Garen ripped.
Yeah.
Like
just like just the strongest I can be, right? Like let that fortitude of the inside be reflected on the outside. And granted, I'm in my second trimester of my third pregnancy with my third boy, and I'm going to CrossFit 4 days a week, and I'm eating my protein and drinking my hydrogen water. But after this baby comes, which will complete our family, the big thing that I look forward to is getting really, really, really in shape. I'm just kind of like, what is like, how far can I go?
Yeah.
You know, how far can I take it? How many lives can I impact? How much fun can I have? How ripped can I get? It's just, I love the challenge because that's where the growth happens. If I'm just sitting on my couch watching movies, which by the way, I also love to do. Let me just be clear, like my favorite activity is like making popcorn and cozying with my family with the fire and watching movies. Like I'm not a machine.
What's the go-to movie?
Even though, oh, well, we do a lot of like The Office and Seinfeld, like pretty like
Yeah.
chill, you know,
Yeah.
light things. What is the movie that we're watching a lot right now? My little son is really into Spidey, like
Oh,
baby
yeah.
baby
Yeah.
Spidey.
Yeah.
Like all the Pixar
Yeah.
movies and things like that, the kids movies on repeat. But it's like it's more like that cozy feeling. Cozy is also one of my favorite feelings. But so like I go hard, but I rest hard too. I give myself a lot of space to rest. I sleep really well at night, you know, like I sleep 8 hours a night. I care and nurture for myself and care and nurture myself in a really deep way because I do like to play so hard. But yeah, when the baby comes, I'm like, I think the physical fitness journey sounds really fun. And also, I do have a vision. Right now, I'm leading my business, like I said, as a personal development journey, but it's still my business.
Right.
I think it would be fun to get skillful enough where I could teach personal development just for the sake of teaching personal development, not to then grow an entrepreneur, to then go do whatever you want, a better mother, a better husband, whatever it is. I think that it would be fun to teach on stage, just being a personal development teacher.
So what are you doing today to develop that, to become that? Like you're working on it already, right? You're going to speak at the Austin Entrepreneurial Summit and like, so you're working on that. It's starting to show up in your life. What skills are you working on to refine that and be able to deliver that?
For sure, public speaking is a big one, 100%. I mean, last year was the first time, 1 year ago was the first time I got on stage in front of 300 people. I was terrified. I was like the MC for one of my events. And then after that, I spoke in the UK, I spoke in Spain, I spoke on 5 different stages around the world last year. And I was like, this is amazing. So now that I'm comfortable with it, I'm refining my skill set on it. So Garen and I work together on public speaking, like in some of our one-on-one sessions, we work on that. And then my mentor, James Ray, who actually just recently passed away just a few weeks ago, I'm going back in and studying all of his work. He was a masterful public speaker. And so I'm actually studying him, like studying how he holds space and how he moves on the stage. So I would say both from the content side, I know it for my own self, but it's one thing to know it for yourself and it's another to be able to deliver it for people. So like finding the way that I deliver it to people along with the actual skill set of public speaking.
What's fascinating to me is some of the coaches I've worked with have started talking about like going and watching film, right? So athletes go and watch film. They watch the game, they watch their competition, they watch their actions, what were giveaways, what were tells. And so they've started to coach me to go watch film of myself, watch film of others. And that's what you're doing, right? You're watching James and you're absorbing everything he's doing, not necessarily the message he's delivering, which I'm sure you're getting that as well. But you're like, okay, how did he move on the stage? Did he go from the right to the left? What were his hands doing? What did his mouth do? Did his tone increase or decrease? Like, so you're studying it, which I think a lot of people discount the amount of studying we can do for free. Like you're just watching film.
Yeah.
Like you're watching clips.
Yeah.
You're just studying.
I mean, the beautiful thing is like we live in a day and age where you can literally learn anything on YouTube.
Anything.
It's incredible.
Anything.
So just like starting with the desire that I'm like, I want to learn this skill set. I want to get better at it. And then seeing what, okay, work with Garen one-on-one, study James, get on YouTube and see. I also like to see what topics people talk about that really activate something in me. And then, I think even at church on Sunday, they were saying how God doesn't waste your suffering. And I love that message overall, that like our pain and our suffering and our hardships are all there for a reason. They all shape us into a certain type of person, and we can either let them consume us or we can become because of it. So it's like, because that activates something in me, it is something that I want to share with people. It's like, how do you use the hardships as fuel and not demonize them?
It's ironic. We had like not a heated debate, but Haley from our team is in town, and Melissa, Haley, and I were talking about this whole spiritual journey because it's like new for me. It's a place I'm exploring. It's a place I'm dabbling with. It's a place that I'm very resistant to, candidly.
Okay.
And so, from your spiritual journey, have you always been very rooted in your faith? Is that something you picked up along on the cancer journey? Like, how did that show up in your life?
Yeah, my faith kind of came later on because I was raised Catholic, and being raised Catholic, there were a lot of rules. And I really believed there was a man in a throne in the sky who watched everything I did, and I either got a check or an X, and I would be in trouble or I would be good.
Yeah.
And that was very uncomfortable for me. And so as I got older, I really fell in love with yoga and meditation and spirituality and personal development, and that sort of became my way of life, right? That became my religion, let's say. And then I think it just comes with a maturity and life experience that I began to develop my relationship with Jesus and with God and with reading the Bible and kind of coming back to what I consider truth. Like, I'm rooted in my relationship with God. I'm rooted in that faithful relationship. That's my North Star. But I'm also not someone who's going to demonize other things outside of that or to make them wrong.
Yeah.
So, I go to church every Sunday and I read my Bible and I pray. And I also love personal development, and I'll still go to a yoga class,
Right.
but I won't pray to the Hindu gods and goddesses like maybe I would have when I was like full on in my yoga era 10 years ago.
Right.
So I think it was just a matter of just being open to the ongoing journey and not like labeling myself, you believe this, you believe this. It's like, what I believe, what is God pulling me towards? And I think everything along the journey has served and supported me in a deeper way until I could get here at 30. I'm going to be 40 in June, rooted in this truth of my relationship with God, and also be able to pass that on to my children and have them rooted in that while giving them space to explore, but I think it's just such a sacred relationship that we can have to be rooted in this wild world that we live in.
It is a wild world.
Yeah.
You got to tell me about ayahuasca. I had no idea you've done ayahuasca.
Yeah, several times.
How many times have you sat with it? I think is what they call it, right?
Yeah, 5.
5. 5 different days or 5 different sittings? Because sometimes it's like 3 days at a time, right?
5 different sittings.
5
The
different
first
sittings.
time I did it was on a retreat in Peru, and we did 5 ceremonies.
Wow. And how was that?
It was amazing. I mean, it's hard though. It's
is.
rough. You go through it. The interesting thing about my ayahuasca journey is my intention when I went into it was, is there anything that I'm not seeing that I should see? Like, were there any deep-rooted traumas or experiences I went through from my past that maybe I'm blocking, that I need to heal to excel to the next level of life? Like, show me, you say grandmother ayahuasca, like, show me what it is I need to see.
Right.
And the interesting thing that I got was, you had the upbringing you thought. You had 2 loving parents. I mean, granted, it wasn't an ideal marriage. They ended up getting divorced, and there was a lot of arguing in my house, but there wasn't trauma.
Right.
I didn't have like the capital T trauma. And I was just like, am I just not looking at it? Did I block it out? And the medicine was like, no, you just get to soar because you get to soar. There's no more that you need to dig into to uncover. Just go. I was like, okay. And another night on the journey, Ross and I both saw our sun cruise.
Wow.
We both saw our sun cruise, and
With the name cruise?
no, not the
okay,
name cruise,
okay.
but a little boy,
Yeah.
a baby, and 1 year later, and
Wow.
it was so clear. I was sitting on a wood floor. There was a baby next to me. The sunlight was streaming in this door. My dog Maddie was running. Like, it was clear as day. And 1 year later, I was like, Ross, come here. And I was like, this was the vision in ayahuasca. I was just sitting on the floor of my kitchen, and I was like, wood door, light streaming in. The baby was there. It was crazy. It was crazy. I think more than anything, what I've gotten from working with plant medicine, I really did use it as a tool on my healing journey. Anything that could help me heal, I said yes to. And what I learned from plant medicine is that there's so much more than this physical world. Like there's so much more than meets the eye. And I think that's one thing that helps me stay a student of life is like when I think I know, I don't
You
know.
don't know.
You don't know anything, Carly. Just
No.
that's what it shows me. I'm like, whoa, there's all of this going on. I think my ayahuasca chapter is closed for a little while. I'm not saying that it will never reopen again, but I do believe that it really is something that you're called to. And
Right.
I had the calling very strongly, and I don't now. It's not like I'm just going to go do it for fun. I
Right.
really recommend that you do it with a deep intention and deep reverence and for the purpose of healing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's mind blowing, like you said, to see what is on the other side of the surface we see every day.
Mhm.
Because we kind of get fixated on that surface. But when you start to peel back the layers and you start to go deep, there's this whole different perspective and different mind space that I think you can tap into and enter into. And one of the things I'm playing with right now, and I'd be curious to get your thoughts on, is I had this addition bias. So I thought the way to achieve more was to say yes more. The way to get to where I want to go is more yeses, right? Like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'll come there. I'll do this, whatever. And now I'm kind of recognizing that actually the way to get to where I desire to go is through no's. And has this been something you've wrestled with? Have you always been a very like focused no, yes, or have you had to play with that as well?
Absolutely have played with it and have gotten same journey of, I mean, for me it's in my body. So it's not a head decision, but it's a body decision, and I can feel, yeah, that's a yes, that's a no, and I honor it. I then don't second guess it. Another thing that's been helpful is like John DeMartini's work on values. I ran my values the other day, like my top 3 life values, and like I'm going to break some parents' brains maybe, but mine were health, business, family.
Yeah.
And I think that it's like, oh, but you don't put your kids first. Well, my way of loving my children fully and completely is making sure their mother's in optimal health, running a business that allows us to live a freedom-based life where I can keep them home. I don't have to put them into a system that doesn't align. And that is then from there, I get to show up fully and completely with them as mother in my power, because I believe that's the most powerful thing I can give them. So understanding my values of health, business, family also allows me to make really clear decisions of like, that's a yes, that's a no. Does it align with my values?
What do you not get to talk about, either in a social setting, on stages, that Carly loves to talk about
Oh my
or
goodness.
would love to talk more about?
I don't know. I feel like I'm a really open book.
I do too. I mean, you live streamed your second birth
Yeah,
on Instagram.
I did. I
You're pretty
live
open.
streamed. I'm a pretty open book. I
pretty
live
open
streamed
book.
my second birth on Instagram. Yes, I did.
Will you do the third?
I haven't decided yet.
haven't
It's up for debate.
What does Ross think about all this? Does he just think you're crazy, or he just goes, okay, sure? Yeah,
He
no problem."
loves it.
He loves
He
it.
just rolls with it.
Because he's very, like, in my experience with Ross, he's very introverted. He's not like, let's show the world our lives. He's kind of just, I'm going to just do my thing and stick to my routine, and super awesome dude, but he's just kind of chill.
quiet. He's quiet to the outside world. Obviously, like within our
course.
home and our relationship, he's not. But Ross and I have been together for 12 years. He's never once been like, no, I don't think you should do that. Literally 2 days ago, I was like, so I got invited to go to Japan for 4 days in March, and I really want to go. What do you think? He's like, yeah, if you want to go, go. I'm like, he gives me, he's like, he
Go.
knows me. And the worst thing for me would be to be stifled. Now, that's not to say that he wouldn't give his opinion. If he's like, oh, well, we have this thing happening, let's look at it.
Right.
Obviously, we have
Right.
that dynamic.
Right.
But yeah, he just gives me a platform to go and to soar. But I don't know if there's anything that I don't talk about that health, business, family. I mean,
That's what you get to
give
do.
me any of those 3 topics. I'm good to go.
So I started taking methylene blue because of your video that Melissa showed me. I have no idea why I'm taking it.
Yeah.
But I take it every day.
Yeah.
I've spilled the bottle twice. It
Yeah.
stains the shit out of your floors.
Yeah.
And your clothes. Help me understand why I'm taking it.
Methylene blue is just another one of those products that's going to help with cellular detoxification. Like we don't look enough at our cellular health. We look at our macro health, right? What are we eating? What are we working? How are we moving our bodies? Hopefully, what are we thinking? And methylene blue is a product that's just going to get to this, like it's going to charge the mitochondria, right? The powerhouse of your cells, and it's going to help detox, because disease comes from an overabundance of toxicity in the body. And disease comes from a perfect storm. Like we're getting hit from all of these different angles. So if you look at anything from like cancer to autoimmune disorders to neurological disorders, really when they're working in a functional medicine perspective, everybody's detoxing. So the question is, why wait for a diagnosis?
Right.
Do it now. So
Right.
things like methylene blue, infrared saunas. I know that you guys have a sauna, drinking hydrogen water. All of these are supporting overall cellular health and vitality.
Coffee enema.
Coffee.
Oh,
Are you
man.
on the coffee enema train?
I've done a
Matt?
couple. I'm
Yeah.
not quite as into it as my wife. Melissa does it probably 5 times a week, 3
Let's
to 5
go,
times a week. Like she's
Melissa.
really into it.
Yeah.
I've tried it. I've explored it. She's sending me more literature on it to like understand the value of it. I'm trying to get better at the idea of all of these things. I mean, I went on a really big health journey in the last 2 years and really just started to understand if I can optimize myself in like peak state, like me personally, I can show up so much better for my kids, my businesses, my family. Like I just show up so differently. And right now, you know, I wake up every day. I've got the red light by the treadmill. We've got the sauna. We've got the cold plunge. We're drinking the hydrogen water, methylene blue, which I didn't even know I was doing, but I was doing it anyways.
Yes.
So we're doing all these things, but now what I'm actually wrestling with is what we think to be is adrenal fatigue. So I live in, you know, I don't think it's stressful, but when people look at my life, they're like, how do you manage everything you do, right? We've got 3 amazing kids, 23 Longhorns. We got just so much going on. And then in addition to that, I'm running multiple businesses and traveling constantly. And so people from the outside look and go, oh my gosh, you're so stressed. And I don't feel stressed, but now my blood results and how my physical body is feeling is showing that there is some adrenal fatigue. And so that's now the new journey that we were literally talking about this morning that I'm going to start going down is like, okay, how do I fix this adrenal fatigue? And of course, my instant answer was like, what peptide can I take to just fix it like immediately, right? And through a quick Google search, I recognize there's none. So I get to go on now. I'm going to have to learn how to meditate, which is something that I've played with and something I've explored, but I suck at it. I can't sit there and meditate. My mind is immediately like gone. And I'm like, okay, I like 2 minutes. Yes. New record for me. This is great.
Yeah.
But it's like what you were talking about earlier, sitting in the hard and understanding on the other side of the life you desire. And most of us, myself included, when we're faced with hard at times, it's easier to just say, I'm not going to meditate. And that's kind of the label I've given myself for the last 20 some years. When I started learning about meditation, I was like, I'm not a meditator. I'm not going to meditate. No, I'm not a meditator. But now I'm recognizing that the power I'm seeking may lie on the other side of meditating. So becoming a meditator could open up a whole nother world of possibilities for me. So it's something now I'm going to start playing with, start working on.
It's usually like the thing that we want to do least is the thing that's actually going to support us the most.
Always. Yeah. It's like the life you're seeking lies in the work you've been unwilling to do.
Well, let me give you a tip about meditation.
Okay.
So because I have a very active mind as well. And so meditation was hard for me in the beginning. And so a lot of times when we start meditating, we think that we actually have to silence the mind. And then when we have thoughts come, we get distracted by it. And we're like, no, why is there a thought? I'm supposed to be meditating. Stop it. So what a teacher taught me one time was, imagine that you're sitting on a park bench and you're looking out at a highway and you're seeing the cars pass by. Well, instead of hopping in the car and letting the car take you for a ride, I want you to imagine that your thoughts, you're like, the thought comes up and you just let the thought get into the car and go past you. So you're like, oh, okay, saw that thought. Thank you so much. I see that thought. Thank you so much. So you're not like, why are you here? And you're not letting the thought take you for a ride. You're just acknowledging it and then saying next. And your entire meditation for 10 minutes might just be next.
Yeah. For now.
Yeah, for now. And the other thing I wanted to tell you about adrenal fatigue, I actually heard this from a functional medicine doctor like last month. Do you want to know what she said to heal adrenal
Is
fatigue?
it Dr. Katie?
No.
Okay.
She said sleep for 12 hours a night for a month.
I mean, sounds glorious. I'm not a sleeper. I was
going to ask.
never been a big sleeper, but What's been the most interesting about having our third child is obviously the baby's in our room and Melissa's feeding at night and stuff. Marley, our 4-month-old, was at first sleeping better than the other two. So the other two were met with this like, why is she in your room? We want to be in your room. And so I was sleeping worse than my wife, who was feeding our newborn child, because I was taking kids back to their bed constantly throughout the night. And so sleep is not something that I have prioritized accordingly in my life. It's kind of like, I used to have this notion of I'll sleep when I die, sleep when I die. Like I've got too much I want to do. I've got too much I want to do. And I do. I wake up like excited and inspired. And my mind's racing. I want to go. I want to go. I want to go. But I am working on, sleep and understanding like the value of sleep. Like I also am a very routined person, which I would imagine you are too. And I'd love to hear about your routine, but every day I get up at 4:17. Like that's when my alarm goes off. And I get my workout in, my journaling in, my reading, like sauna, my cold plunge. And then I can move on with my day because I've put my oxygen mask on first. But now I'm trying to look at ways in my life, like even building a gym here at the ranch, where I can get more sleep and still put my oxygen mask on just on different times during the day, rather than having it to be first thing in the morning so I can go tackle work and then family.
Yeah. Well, and I think that different seasons call for different things as well. So it's like right now putting your oxygen mask on first might be sleeping in. I mean, to the extent that you can with children, or going to bed for me, it's going to bed when my kids go to bed. I go to bed at 8:30 or 9.
Yeah.
So, I think that's a big thing too. I mean, I think it's also easier for a woman because we're so cyclical, right? And we're honoring the cycles of our lives, and pregnancy or not, things like that. But really allowing ourselves to say, what is this season of life? What is the most nourishing thing for me in this season of life? And in some seasons of life, it might be 4:17 sauna, cold plunge, and in other ones, it might be sitting in silence with a candle and a cup of coffee for an hour at 5:30.
Sounds terrifying.
Perfect. That means that's your work.
Exactly. It sounds terrifying. What does your routine look like?
So pre-pregnancy, my routine also was 4:30 a.m.
Yeah.
Wake up at 4:30 a.m. I start prepping the coffee enema while I jump on the rebounder for lymphatic drainage. I do my coffee enema, and then I would go do my infrared sauna. So that was kind of like the foundation of my and take morning supplements with hydrogen water. That was kind of, and normally those things, coffee enema, rebounding, sauna, all together takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours. So I would be doing my routine from 4:30 to 6:30. And then if I would have time, I would walk before the kids get up. Again, it's a dance. Like our kids up early because things need to change. And then doing my CrossFit 4 days a week. Anytime that I'm in the car or I'm walking, I'm listening to something that's like moving me forward, helping me learn something. And as soon as I got pregnant and I was in my first trimester, I was sleeping 12 hours a night. And I was just like, I have this workout group with my girlfriends, and I was like, nope, I slept from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m.
Yeah.
And I didn't shame myself, and I didn't make a story about it, and I didn't make it wrong. I was like, this is what my body needs.
Yeah.
And now I'm in the second trimester, and granted, I am doing the infrared sauna on like 80 to 90 degrees, not super hot, more for the red light benefits. I'm super gently jumping on the rebounder, not crazy, but lightly. I'm not doing coffee enemas right now. I'm doing like my overall immune support supplements like vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, selenium, but not like binders and methylene blue, not cellular detox things. And I'm getting in my workouts. So it's like, and I'm honoring that that's what this season of self-care looks like. And like I said, once baby's here and I'm, have let myself rest, I'm going back into the fitness journey.
It's amazing how much shame the outside world gives pregnant women who are just living the life that their body needs. Like Melissa, for instance, when she was pregnant with Marley, she was still going in the sauna. Now, granted, it wasn't 200 degrees, but it was like 160, and she wasn't staying in for 15 minutes. She was staying in for 5, and she was still getting in the cold plunge, and it wasn't at 39. It was at 47. Like, she was still doing things, right? And I'll never forget, my mom was just like, oh, I don't think this is good for the baby. I don't think this is good for the baby. And what I really respect about the way you lead your life and the way Melissa was leading hers with the pregnancy is you just did what your body needed. And you just honored your body and knew that it could handle what it needed, and you knew what it needed. Like, you're just doing what your body needs.
Yeah. like one of my favorite things is never take advice from somebody whose life you wouldn't switch places with.
Yeah.
So it's like if someone's giving me advice, I'm like, do you have the health? Are you like a biohacking queen? Do you,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, like, or are you just speaking out of your own past story?
Right.
Which is fine. I honor and respect that, but it's just probably not advice. It's
Yeah.
like when entrepreneurs start a new business and everyone's like, no, why are you doing that? You're going to lose all your money. And you're like, so how are your finances? Oh, I've been working the same job, making 4K a month. Like,
Yep.
I hate my boss. And we're
Yeah.
like, so why should I be taking advice from you?
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, there was Aaron Rodgers was on a podcast recently, which he's a very like, you either love him or you hate him. I personally love him. I love how intellectual he is and how deep he is. And he said, I never take advice from someone I wouldn't take criticism from. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting perspective. Like, would I take criticism from this outside voice that I don't know? You know, I still respect them, but I don't know them. They don't know me. They're at a totally different place in their life. I wouldn't take their criticism, so why am I going to take their advice? And the alternative can work too. Like, I'm not going to take their criticism if I wouldn't take their advice.
Yeah, I mean, taking constructive feedback from somebody who you really respect and admire is a power move for sure. And being willing to like put your ego aside to say like, I respect you. I want to hear what you have to say. I want to grow through this. That one's still hard for me. But that's where I've like flexed the hard muscle a little bit to be like, okay, I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Give it to me.
My favorite question to ask people, like just in random conversations, where in your life are you most flirting with disaster?
My goodness. Probably just in the sheer amount of things that are happening. Like, I think my life sounds similar to yours, where it's just there's like 25 plates in the air at all times. And it's like, it could be a disaster.
Yeah.
Thankfully, because of the mindset work, even the disasters aren't disasters.
Right.
They're I
Right.
get to grow through it.
Right.
But I would just say from the outside, people looking in are like, this is crazy. But that's how I operate. That's how I roll. And as long as I can stay in balance by making sure that I give myself the rest and the sleep and the honoring of the seasons, it's how I operate best in the world. But I would say that there is the potential for massive chaos at any moment in time in my life.
Yeah, which
For
you kind of
sure.
thrive in. So you're probably like
Yeah.
subconsciously seeking the chaos because you
Yeah.
know that's where you probably will do the best.
It's
But-
weird.
But you also probably have a team, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
sure you've built a team over time. And so what does your interactions with that team look like?
So I have a personal assistant who's in my home throughout the day who helps with like house things, booking appointments and getting cars washed, doing laundry, things like that. So very like life house things. I have a chief marketing officer who supports with social media creation, newsletter, just overall content creation, like the message that I'm putting out into the world. A back-end business assistant who helps with the day-to-day of everything. I have someone who, a private chef who drops off food once a week to my house. And again, it's like, I think that sometimes when I say the level of support that we have in our home, it's easy to be like, well, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm staying in my zone of genius.
Yes.
You know, I'm spending intentional time with my children. I'm not pushing them off me while I'm trying to vacuum the floor and do laundry. And I've had that season. That's
Right.
fine. We honor that season. There's nothing wrong with that season, but I'm so grateful that I get to play a different game. And this is the game I want to play. I crafted the game that I want to play. And those people, I talk to them every day. I mean, if it doesn't light me up, if it's not Carly in her full power, then I outsource it out. And yeah, I would say that's my business assistant, marketing director, personal assistant, and our private chef. And then we have cleaners come to the house once a week. And so I'm in deep gratitude to them. They don't have to be there. You know, I tell them every single day, none of this happens without you.
Right.
And they say, well, this doesn't, I don't work without you. And I'm like, how grateful are we that we get to take 1 + 1 and it equals 25? Like
Right.
I'm in deep, deep reference to them.
Are you going to write a book?
Well, the funny thing about writing a book is that I started and like 4 months ago, I was like, Ross, I need to go away for 4 days and go work on this book. And so I went away. And I came home and he was like, how did the book go? And I was like, I'm not writing a book. I'm not writing a book.
Yeah.
Maybe one day. But right now I would love to. I have a lot of notes. I have a lot of notes from my cancer journey and my business journey. And I do believe that I have a powerful message to share. But what's lighting me up more is investing my time in learning the skill set to get on stage and move people from stage and becoming a better public speaker. And in time, I do believe it will translate to a book, but not this season.
Not this season. Yeah, I'm in a similar season as you, where I was like, I'm gonna write a book. I started writing the book. I was like, this is awful.
Yeah, I know, it's so hard.
And then I like found a different way to like reinvigorate myself. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna write a book. I'm gonna do a chapter a week. And like I started finding momentum. And then after 3 chapters, I'm like, this is awful. Because I too think that there's a message to share and there's a way that I want to share it. But then when you go back and read your own words, I find myself so critical of it. I'm like, nobody's gonna read this. This is stupid, right? Like that's. But now I'm also playing with this idea of, and you are too, which is you have a message to share. Who are you to keep it? And so again, this whole notion of like, yes, writing a book is hard, and on the other side of hard is the life we desire. So I'm just leaning into it. I'm working through it, but it is an interesting journey.
What I've heard about writing a book is like that by the time you're done writing the book, you've already outgrown it.
Yes.
Right? So I keep thinking that. I'm like, oh, but I've already outgrown this, but I have to write the first one in order to add on the second one.
Right.
So yeah, maybe we both just get to seize the opportunity to do the hard thing and write the
Just
damn
write
book.
the book. Write the book.
Coming 2026.
Yeah, exactly, right? Or 2027 or 2028, whenever it is.
2030.
Right? Yeah, it doesn't matter. People are listening to this. People are inspired by you, want to learn more about you. Where can they follow Carly? How can they understand more about where you're at in your journey, learn more about your backstory, understand hydrogen, water, and methylene blue? Where should people reach out to you?
The number one place that I share everything and anything is on my Instagram. It's Carly Loves Kale. It's where I talk about business. I have hundreds of highlights with every detoxification method you can think about. I have a step-by-step coffee enema highlight on there. I also have my website, carlybrownwellness.com, that shares about my online detoxification programs. It has information about hydrogen water and the business side of things, and also my retreat, Sacred Self-Care, that I do 2 times a year. The next one for that is coming up at the end of May 2025. Yep, we're 2025.
Yes.
May 2025 down in Mexico, where we stay at a beautiful beachfront property. We do a lot of the mind, body, spirit work of healing within a group of women. And the last day we actually go to Hope for Cancer. You don't need to have cancer to come. Some people do. But we just do a day of physical detoxification there. All the things that I talk about, they get to come to the clinic and do it from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., a full day of detox. So
yeah, what's cool about that is my wife went to one of, I think the first ones you guys did here in Austin. And she came back such a different human from the point of view of taking control of her health and her body and our kids' bodies and my body. And she's like, we're going to buy a hydrogen water machine. I'm like, a what? Like, what do you mean? And like, I'm underneath the sink trying to hook up the plumbing. And I'm like, what did Carly get us into? But it's really been inspiring to see the power of educating yourself on your body and the impact that that has for a woman who then takes that back and gives that to their family, their friends, their peers. Like when she went to Wisconsin for the summer, she took the hydrogen water machine to Wisconsin and her parents were drinking hydrogen water. Like, so she's very into it, and it's been an incredible journey and gift that you and Blair gave her with the Sacred Women's Retreat and what you guys are doing there. So definitely worth going to that for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And, you know, one of the reasons that I love to pour into women specifically so much, we love our men, you know, but I have a heart for pouring into women, is because the women are the energetic barometer of the home. You know, you have a woman in her power who's the head of the energetic head of the home, and that ripples to everyone, the husband, the children, the community, all of it. It's like, I just think that women, they have so much more power than they know. And when we can get them fully in their body, in their heart, get their energy aligned, their intentions clear, it sets the entire family on fire.
Totally.
So it's a gift to be able to do that work.
Well, it was a gift to have you here today. I really appreciate you. I'm excited to see what the ranch becomes with the animals and the family. Excited to meet the third boy, and just really want to appreciate who you are and how you live your life. It's been really fun having a conversation with you.
Thank you so much, Matt.
Yes,
I appreciate being here.
Yes, ma'am.